So Richard came to me when they got this show and said, okay, I want to deal with some of these control issues that we've been talking about forever, and I think the light palette is a great choice to integrate with WYSIWYG and Virtual Magic Sheet and a couple of the other things that actually developed while we spent 2 months in New York this summer, which we're very excited about at this show. But the connection with WYSIWYG was a very big part of it, and the ability to click and drag inside of the 3D view and have the lights all follow your mouse. But it's also about the language that we've been forced to use for years when controlling moving lights with a protocol that was originally designed for running dimmers up and down. So most lighting desks, at least of a generation ago, were panning lights in percentage and picking gobos in a percentage and picking the direction of the rotation of the gobo in a percentage and controlling shutters with 9 crazy parameters called 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B and all the rest of it. And there was this job came out of what used to be a lighting operator into now this lighting programmer, and his job was to translate the design intent and put it into this crazy language of DMX that would then create the art. And what the light palette did is we've removed the DMX control of the moving lights into this thing we call universal attribute control. So when you look at a fixture, you actually are panning and tilting in degrees. You're rotating in RPM. You move things clockwise or counterclockwise. So this gives a language that is very easy for Richard to communicate with me, and I can talk to a huge, massive rig of moving lights and effects and fog machines and rotators and RGBs and CMYs and all the rest of it, and I can speak to it, he can speak to me, and I can speak to the rig in a unified language. So that was very interesting. So let me demonstrate with this light here what I mean by that. So if I grab this BL500 right in front of us, on most lighting desks that would be called 50-50, half a pan and half a tilt, which was an interesting number but didn't mean much once you came off of 50-50. But with confidence, using this universal attribute control, I can ask that light to tilt 90 degrees, and it goes straight above your head. I have no idea what DMX came out of the desk to make that happen, but I know that 90 degrees is right angles to where it was. And that would be the same if it was a Martin fixture, a clay packing fixture, Comar fixture, Robe, whatever it is. 90 degrees is 90 degrees, there's no debate about it. The same thing is true, I can pan it 90 degrees and it goes, stage left, or I can pan it minus 90 degrees and it goes stage right. So now all of a sudden I can grab a bunch of different manufactured lights.
That's stage right. This is stage left.
Depends where you're sitting.
For the audience.
Get on the audience.
I figured they're all technicians. That was my thought. But I could now grab lights of different manufacturers and ask them all to fan from minus 90 degrees to plus 90 degrees, and you get this beautiful fan without fooling around with crazy percentage numbers. The other thing is, Richard would say, we need that 3500, Robert, to look like the Source 4. So I would throw the CTO in it, and I would type into it, zoom 26 degrees. And it comes up looking just like a Source 4. Or if it's a 36 degrees, or a 50 degrees, or whatever it is. And there's no translation to percentage to get these sort of things. The other thing is dealing with colors. This is I'll just point it above our heads here. But this is a subtractive light for CMY. So I could grab this guy here, and with no cyan, no magenta, and no yellow, it ends up being white light. But if I change the mode of this from CMY into RGB, even though it's not an RGB light, if I have just blue, on my display here I have 0 red, 0 green, and 100% blue. It's figured out what it needed to take it to make that blue. So now I can grab RGB lights and Vari lights at the same time, as we did many times on the show, on the site, and I could grab them all and skew their hue or their saturation or their luminance just by changing the mode into another color space. So there's a nice blue, but I want to take the saturation out. Or I may just use one wheel to change the hue. So now this universal attribute control has got one encoder, which is actually controlling 3 DMX channels, but completely beyond, you know, what I need to do. The little black box is doing it all for me. I don't have to do that in between. The other thing we can do, of course, is I could bring up a color picker, and I can actually just grab and choose. And this is great because even though it's on the screen and I'm using a touch screen, I'm actually looking at the stage and I go, well, that's nice, but I want to go in this direction, and then I just stop whenever I'm happy with it. And we did this just with pulling out bitmaps, so you could actually have a picture like this and say I want that color. Or you could have a picture like this, which could be a picture of the set, and say we want a blue. And it would actually just sample that and take it off. And it will do it for RGB lights and CMY lights, or the Vibron CXIs, or any sort of color system. It brings them all onto the same level playing field. And in the same sense, I can text match that with a Roscoe color and say, give me Roscoe 26, just type it in, and it will bring that to me. Yes, Rob?
Can you put a live video image up there and
No.
point to it and get a color that way?
No.
Next version.
It's a static image that sits on the hard drive and it brings it up, so we're not doing the live video. But I did a text match to color Roscoe 26. I could also say, well, what I really need is some sort of blue. So I type in BLU, and then it advertises a whole bunch of things that match close to that. And I just picked one, and it'll give me a blue. So that was really useful when we had different sorts of lights working. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to flip to WYSIWYG. And this was our drawing. Just go here. This is our drawing in 3D, so we could look at it even if the stage was full of ladders and the painters were doing things. We could actually work in the theater just by using this visualization system, and we could go in and change the sets. So the big Bastille set is Act 2, Scene 1. So I would just turn that on, and there we have that set in there. So now Richard could say, okay, release everything. And you'd say, okay, give me number 3, Robert, throw it to full, try to get it in there, and I would do some sort of shutter cutting on it. And we don't call, in the universal attribute control, we don't call it motor 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B. We actually call it top, bottom, left, and right, which is pretty revolutionary. And I have a little control here where I can actually run both top and bottom shutters at the same time and left and right shutters at the same time. And I can make it box, which is very useful to get into scaffolding. And we would do that all the time. But again, if I got to this fixture and was trying to hit it, Richard sometimes will say, give up, Robert, you're never going to get it with that one. We're going to use number 11, which is on the first selector. So without having to destroy the work I did, clear, 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 and start over again, I could actually just say, move the work that I've been doing on this from fixture 3 to fixture 11, and it will actually grab this, except for I had it in a position palette, and it comes up with the same sort of shape, the same color. The shutter's the same if I had gobels in it rotating. It can actually match all of that stuff because it's working at this universal level, not at a DMX level. So these are some of the things that made programming the show with lots of different kit very quickly, because we didn't have to think about what we were grabbing. We always knew that we were getting more red if we went clockwise, or we were strobing faster if we went clockwise, or we were going stage right if I went clockwise, or stage left, whatever it happens to be.